Right, good morning ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural public meeting of the Staffordshire Leaders Board today, Wednesday the 23rd of June 2022 at the Oak Room, County Buildings, Stafford. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Chris, we have apologies.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Jeremy Oates, Leader of Tamworth Borough Council.
Thank you. Do we have any other apologies? The second item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? For the record, nobody is indicating that they have a declaration of interest. Third item on the agenda is the Chairman's update, brought to you by my... in fact, no, before I go any further, I've forgotten to do one thing, which is the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural Staffordshire Leaders Board. This is a great occasion, bringing together the 9 leaders of the districts, boroughs and the county council across the county of Staffordshire. My name is Councillor Alan White. I'm the leader of Staffordshire County Council, and I'd like everybody in turn to introduce themselves, identify the district or borough they represent, and then we can move on from there. To my left.
Good morning, my name is John Henderson. I'm the Chief Executive of Staffordshire County Council.
Good morning, Kerry Dove, Assistant Director for Strategy and Transformation at Staffordshire County Council.
Good morning, Christian Moncucci, the Assistant Director for Communications at Staffordshire County Council.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Lyons, Leader of Cannock Chase District Council.
Good morning, I'm Tim Clegg. I'm Chief Executive of Cannock Chase District Council and Stafford Borough Council.
Good morning, I am Councillor Patrick Farrington. I am Leader of Stafford Borough Council.
Good morning everybody, I'm Simon Tagg, Leader of Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council.
Good morning, I'm Martin Hamilton. I'm the Chief Executive at Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council.
Good morning, my name's George Allen. I'm the Leader of East Staffordshire Borough Council.
Good morning, I'm Andy O'Brien, Chief Executive of East Staffordshire Borough Council.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Doug Pullen, Leader of Lichfield District Council.
Good morning, I'm John Tradewell, Director for Corporate Services at Staffordshire County Council.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Roger Lees. I'm Leader of South Stafford District Council.
Good morning, Dave Hayward. I'm Chief Executive of South Staffordshire Council.
Good morning, I'm Paul Roberts, Leader of Staffordshire Moorlands District Council.
Good morning, Andrew Stokes, Chief Executive of Staffordshire Moorlands District Council.
Good morning, Andrew Barrett from Tamworth Borough Council.
Chris Eberly, Staffordshire County Council, Democratic Services Manager.
Thank you. Due to a couple of IT issues, when I invite Councillor Roger Lees in to speak, I will identify you, Roger, as Councillor Roger Lees because your connection has been lost. And by the same token, Mr. Tim Clegg, when you're introduced, you'll be introduced by name. Your connection has been lost too, but your microphone works. Good morning and welcome to this first meeting of Staffordshire Leaders Board. This new Leaders Board has been established to maximise the opportunities for all 9 councils in Staffordshire to work even more closely together for the benefit of the county, our residents and businesses. The County Council and District and Borough Councils already have a solid history of partnership working. This particularly shone through during the pandemic when we worked seamlessly to minimise the impact of COVID-19, protect the most vulnerable and support local businesses and the people they employed through a difficult 2 years. As we began emerging from the pandemic, it felt like it was the right time to take stock, focus and re-energise, to look at what worked well, what didn't work well and what we could do even better. The timing of this new board, therefore, really couldn't be better, as we work together to bring new opportunities and investment to the whole of Staffordshire. Formally coming together to create this Leaders Board will allow us to build on our strengths and successes by focusing on joint approaches to the big issues which matter most to Staffordshire's people. This includes growing the economy, attracting investment, tackling public health issues such as obesity and mental health, but also global issues like climate change by working together to reduce our carbon emissions and increase recycling targets. This board gives the County Council and the 8 district and borough councils here today one collaborative voice to speak to central government on the levelling up agenda and how we can better deliver these important goals locally. It will also be the foundation for exploring the potential of a county deal when the right time comes to do so that we can work with government on how powers are devolved into our local hands represented here today. Although we are all committed to investing in Staffordshire to grow the economy, a county deal would realise additional funding which could allow us to accelerate programmes of work and deliver on our ambitions even sooner. We are closely watching the developing county deals across the country and also exploring other opportunities to engage with government. We will not wait for a county deal at the expense of all else, because there's a huge amount of work we can do together and which we can take on because it's the right thing to do for Staffordshire. Staffordshire is a great and affordable place to live, work and invest. This board and the people around the table today will be the drivers of making that happen. Building on the work which is already being delivered or is in the pipeline, including economic growth. Investing in our business parks and high streets is key. This must go hand in hand with the right transport links and housing development. It's really fantastic to see our towns starting to flourish and to know that we have successfully drawn national investment to support these regeneration programmes. For example, £750,000 worth of investment into Burton Town Centre last year from the government's Stronger Towns Fund. £20 million awarded to Cannock Chase District Council through the first tranche of the Levelling Up Fund to support the rejuvenation of the town centre area. And £50 million secured under Future High Streets Fund and town deals for the regeneration of Newcastle and Kidsgrove town centres, with the Borough Council and the County Council working closely together to deliver these ambitious programmes. We also had a huge success at UK Reef in Leeds recently, demonstrating the economic strengths of our great county. Newcastle were in attendance with us, and we both felt that having a fuller Staffordshire presence next year would be beneficial. This will be included in the future item for discussion. In public health, this is a great example of where joined-up thinking and working really works. Health and inequality doesn't stop at the borders within the county. It's a Staffordshire-wide priority. Take obesity, for example, a key priority for us all to tackle in both children and adults. The County Council has a public health remit, but it's the districts and boroughs who are responsible for local planning, parks and leisure. And in my local park, which is managed by Lichfield District Council, it's a fantastic facility, beautifully maintained. It's a real great thing to go around and go and walk around. All of these are linked and must go hand in hand if we are going to be successful in encouraging people to stay active and keep to a healthy weight. The Staffordshire Moorlands, for example, is a pilot area for Better Health Staffordshire, with the District Council aligning the redevelopment of its leisure services to tackle obesity. With vulnerable people in Staffordshire, we are committed to supporting everyone to lead an independent life as possible for as long as possible, ideally not in hospital or in a care home, but supported in their local community. The board will work together with partners such as the NHS to help ensure the right support is available at the right place. And there are loads of examples all around the county where this is either happened, or is going to happen in the future. And together, as partners, we can tackle this. Refugees and asylum seekers. This county has a proud reputation of stretching out a helping hand to those who need it most. Together as local authorities in Staffordshire, we have shared the responsibility to open up the county to refugees from Syria, Afghanistan, and now to families from Ukraine. And every single representative around the table this morning is playing their part in helping to contribute to that effort. The key achievements, just 3 for example. I-54 in South Staffordshire, a partnership between Staffordshire County Council, South Staffordshire Council and Wolverhampton City Council, has been absolutely tremendous. Branston Locks, highways infrastructure enabling a 240-hectare extension to Burton-upon-Trent through growth deal funding, and the Stafford Western Access route, enabling millions of pounds worth of new housing and business development to take place and improve traffic flow in the town centre, particularly by the railway station. And down the tracks, the HS2 hub at Stafford and associated developments of the garden community, an investment in innovation opportunities surrounding A50, A500 growth corridor in the north of the county. Staffordshire is green, affordable and accessible, and as part of our wider We Are Staffordshire activity, we are letting companies far and wide know that this county is open to do business. People can find out more by downloading Staffordshire's investment prospectus, and I have a copy here. This is an absolutely fantastic document containing representations from each of the 9 local authorities that constitute this place. Take a look at it. It's got some fantastic offers from each of the districts and boroughs around the county. There is clearly much to be done and much still to be achieved, and today we want to set our priorities for 2022 to 2023. There are 6 areas of focus identified as important to all 9 local authorities and which are key to unlocking some of Staffordshire's most important current and future challenges. Climate change, economic development across the county, a single front door for Staffordshire residents who need to contact a council, social care and addressing health inequalities, a joint approach to waste and sustainability, and devolution and a county deal. Our forward plan for the board will see us discussing an update in October, but today we will discuss a little bit more about these priorities and how the Leaders Board will oversee them and how the goals will be delivered during the course of this meeting this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my opening comments. Before I move on to the agenda item 4, establishment of the Leaders Board, does anybody wish to make any comment on what I've said? I see nobody indicating. I just, in addition to what I've already said, I would just like to make a point to government, is that whilst government might have an idea of what they think is best for us, the people around this table know what's best for this place. And imposing a mayor on the county of Staffordshire is not what we're about. We want devolution of powers to be able to do things for our residents, but we don't want a framework that doesn't suit this place. And that is why we've come together in this format, and that's why we've agreed to work together to make Staffordshire and its constituent districts and boroughs better for the people we represent. I just wanted to make that very clear right now from the get-go. I think if government thinks that it's going to impose this on us, it's missing an opportunity because there's so much we can do together in our current format. Right, that is the opening remarks. Agenda item 4 is the establishment of the Leaders Board. Who's taking that forward for us? John, are you going to speak to this or?
Thank you, Chair. There are 3 recommendations in the report. This is the formal mechanism for establishing the Leaders Board. The terms of reference are set out in the paper. They've been through each of the cabinets of the constituent authorities in the Leader Board. And there are 3 things that we need to agree today. Firstly, it's about where the board gets its support from. And the suggestion in the paper is that for hosting the board, for the Section 151 responsibilities, and for the monitoring officer and legal advice to the board, those are provided by Staffordshire County Council. So that's the first decision you're asked to make today. The second decision is to agree which of you is going to be the vice chair of the board. And the third decision is there's a proposal to make a minor change to the terms of reference of the board, which when it was set up, the Constitution basically says that you'll meet at least quarterly. Since then, I think there's this the view that the rhythm for these meetings should be every 2 months there's an informal meeting, every 2 months after that there's a formal meeting. So that would mean you're going to have 3 formal meetings of the board. So the suggestion is at some point in time, you each take this back to your respective cabinets and get them to make that tweak to the terms of reference for the board. That's what the paper is proposing today, Chair.
Thank you. If I can open it up to the floor for comments. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Councillor White, and I'd endorse what Mr Tradewell said and also endorse the recommendations within the report. And just to follow up your comments earlier, Chair, I think that this board really sets out our stall to government, that we can make decisions locally and be trusted to deliver for our residents. We all do that individually as councils at the moment, and I think it's together as a whole we can do greater good for the people of Staffordshire. I'd like to, we're obviously asked to nominate a vice chair. I'd like to nominate George Allen, the leader of East Staffordshire Borough Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Would anybody wish to second that nomination? Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second that nomination. Thank you.
Traditionally, in local government circles, we ask the person who's been nominated whether or not they're willing to accept the nomination. But we don't work like that here. You just get top. No, sorry, Councillor Allen. Would you be willing to accept the nomination from your colleagues before I put it to the membership for a vote?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm happy to accept the nomination.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. It has been proposed and seconded that Councillor Allen would be the Vice Chairman of the Leaders Board for Staffordshire for the ensuing year. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? For the record, there is a unanimous approval for Councillor Allen to be the Vice Chairman of the Leaders Board. Thank you very much indeed for accepting the nomination, and thank you, Councillor Tagg, for the proposal. There is also, as part of this piece, requirement to accept that Staffordshire County Council will provide the Section 151 heft and also the accountable body. Does anybody have any objections to the proposal that's on the table for that, or any comments? No. So, with that, when we move forward to the, can I just try and do it professionally? Can I just see a show of hands that everybody's content that Staffordshire County Council takes on the 151 and monitoring officer responsibility for the board? Everybody content? That is unanimous. And what was the third thing we needed to do, Mr. Tradewell?
The tweak to the terms of reference so that it reflects the cycle of meetings that you've chosen.
Okay, so the tweak will be sent back to you for consideration and approval by your respective cabinets and authorities. Is everybody content to do that and content with the rhythm of the meetings? Yep. Okay. All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to say about the constitution of the joint committee? This is a public meeting to ensure transparency, and so if anybody has any queries who are watching on the webcast, then you can direct those queries to Mr. John Tradewell, Monitoring Officer and for Staffordshire County Council. All right. Thank you very much indeed. Am I okay to move on to the next item on the agenda? Yes. Right, so the next item on the agenda is the Leaders Board priorities. Just get to the right papers. Who's leading on this one? You're leading it, then pass it to each of the members. Yeah, but there we go, got the right one. Right. You have a paper in front of you which is the Leaders Board priorities, and they're set out for the period 2022 to 2023. I alluded to those priorities during the course of my opening remarks around those set out on paragraph 4. For those people watching, and by way of a reminder, there are 6 of them: climate change, economic developments across the county, single front door, addressing health inequalities across Staffordshire, and a joint approach to waste and sustainability, and devolution and a county deal. We are making good progress on the first 3, and so what I'd like to do is invite, in the order in which they appear, the lead members for each of those to say a few words about progress that's being made and the priorities and ambitions you have for that area of work. So I think, Councillor Tagg, if you could lead us off with the climate change piece, I'd be very grateful.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think the climate change one really impacts on all the others on that list as well. It's an overarching thing, and it's a thing which we have all committed to as councils, and we all commit to as a body of a leaders board to achieve. And that's not only for organisations where we make pledges to meet net zeros. We vary across the county, but the backstop is 2050. Some councils are 2030 as well. But also for the wider communities, Staffordshire as a whole, local authorities only account for 2% 10% of the carbon emissions across the entire county. The rest comes from transport, from residentials, from businesses. And we need to have plans in place and use our clout as local authorities and together within this leaders group to change behaviours and to bring on changes that will help to reduce to net zero by the backstop of 2050 for me, and that is the County Council's pledge to do that, of course. And to help us to do that, we set up a sustainability board, Staffordshire Sustainability Board, which sits under this leaders board and reports directly into it. Staffordshire Sustainability Board is not a decision-making body. What it does is it looks at ways that the districts can work together. Each of the portfolio holders for climate change is on that board, and will take things respectively either back to their cabinets, or we'll bring something to here to make an overall decision where we all sign up to commitments future on climate change. I think it's an exciting agenda, and it's ideal for local authorities to work together on this, and I think we've all got the same problems and we've all got the same challenges to achieve. I think working together we can do that by sharing learning, pooling resources, and there's an officer group that sits under the Sustainability Board that will ensure that we are doing that, and we will be bringing proposals back to this board probably at the next meeting about areas we can work together on the planning system to achieve, we know building properties that aren't ready for net zero now and then having to retrofit them later. So as councils look at their local plans and update their local plans, they can put in there extra requirements for house building, for example, and that can help us to reach net zero within those timescales I talked about with the backstop of 2050. So an exciting agenda, and all cabinets of all the constituent members of this board, I believe now have passed a sustainability-based pledge, which puts us all on an equal footing going forward, with commitments to move to reduce our energy costs and our energy footprint, and also to work together on obviously our transport issues. District councils have their waste fleets and their street scene fleets, whereas the county has its highway vehicles and all sorts of things, moving those to that net zero level as well over the period we're working on. And I think it's again, an important agenda working together, and I think we as local authorities are ambassadors for that out in the community. And also we must be aware that the community has its voice as well, and that will be feeding into the Sustainability Board and onto this board, because there's a lot of people out there that are already working on climate change within their communities and coordinating their voice, making their voice heard, and also taking on board what they say will be a key thing of this agenda going forward, Chair.
Thank you. The work we're doing here is tremendous, and it responds to a feeling amongst the general public that we need to be doing something about that. There are political movements arising across the country, green movements. I'm going to be coming to you in a moment, Councillor Lyons, because you are experiencing that directly in your district. But we are responding to this agenda, and we're responding with vigour, and we're responding with purpose, and we will make a difference to the climate change agenda as a result of that. But let's be clear about it. We've set ourselves an objective, a timescale at Staffordshire County Council, which is achievable over a period of time. If you want to compress that time down, the cost to local residents will be astronomical. I did have a conversation with the leader of Birmingham City Council, and I think he's got a target of 2030 for his net zero. He recognises that's not just challenging in terms of timescales, but also challenging in terms of finance. And that's what guides us, a pragmatic approach to achieving objectives. And I know that Councillor Tagg is taking an approach which says, actually, let's keep scoring successes in this area. Let's not try to go big bang. Let's not try to do it all at once. Let's just keep on the steady accumulation of success so that we can demonstrate to our residents that we're serious about this. Councillor Lyons, you obviously have a political movement in your district which is particularly interested in this, and it'd be interesting to hear what your response to that is.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to voice my support for this more than anything, really. I think as we've come from the pandemic, I think we've seen the successes of working together as a Staffordshire. I think we're all members of the Staffordshire family, and I myself am really proud to be so. I think in many aspects, I know later on in the agenda we'll talk about economic development. We've seen the successes of working together collectively as Staffordshire leaders. Economically, we've done the apprenticeship scheme, which has been really successful in my district. On climate change, we're we're just about to receive a costed action plan, and I think as leaders we're aware of just how big those challenges are. and we've got to face them, we've got a duty to face them, and we must do so together. And I think the pandemic and the approach that we've developed working together collectively during the pandemic to address some of those challenges, we've now got an opportunity to repave that path ahead. So I think that joint approach is really, really important. To enhance and tackle those challenges together and make sure that we're sharing best practice, working together and collectively addressing those challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. As the newly minted Vice Chair, before I move on to ask Mr Hayward to talk about economic development, is there any comments you'd like to add, Councillor Allen?
I think I'll just sort of reinforce what you were saying earlier, Chair, about the climate change and what Councillor Tagg was saying. It has to be measured and pragmatic. We can we can reach these targets in a very short space of time if we wanted to, but it would be the poorest in society that would pay for it the most. It would be very difficult for them. It's already very difficult for them to, through the cost of living crisis, and if we were to go too hard and too fast and too radical, it would be make it even harder. So the targets as we set in East Staffordshire locally, I think are reasonable, and as the ones in the county as well. I'm very happy to support the climate change agenda going forward.
Councillor Tagg, is there anything you'd like to sum up with?
Thank you, Chair. I just think to point out that the other item on the agenda, the joint approach to waste and sustainability, is also key, tied in with the climate change agenda. Most of a large portion of the carbon emissions are through how we deal with our waste. So I think that's crucial that we work together, as we are doing across districts and county on that. And I think just as just been said, is that that sort of working together to help councils that are facing some more acute problems than others, and that sharing of learning, whether it's a district that's dealing well with recycling, or it's a district dealing well with nature recovery, then that can be shared at this board level, where we can get the results we want for our residents, ultimately to improve the environment in a sustainable way, but as Councillor Allen said, not to wreck the economy in the process. Thank you.
A very important point Councillor Allen makes there. I'm going to now move on to economic development across the county. Mr Hayward, would you like to just give us a flavour of the work that's going on there, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as the report sets out, there's a real strong history of the county's boroughs and district councils working collectively with the County Council on key strategic economic development opportunities. The focus going forward will be very much to build on that and look at how we can harness and grow what we have in place and maximise economic opportunities across the county by working collectively together. So good progress is continuing to be made on the economic and levelling up agenda. A county economic directors board has been set up to support the leaders board to take forward a number of actions in relation to the board's priorities. So the next round of the levelling up, two bids have been pulled together by the district boroughs and county council and will be presented in one overarching document as a really good tool to promote what's on offer across the county. A focus has also been placed on pulling together a comprehensive list of economic programmes currently in the pipeline across the county to demonstrate the wide diversity of initiatives taking place. The common narrative emerging across the work is the strength of potential projects across the county, which in itself will support a common story of economic growth when presenting opportunities to government and also support future funding bid opportunities. So the next steps will include a detailed report of county-wide programmes that will come forward to this leaders board to sign off and agree a top 3 to 5 list of economic projects the board wish to strategically focus on. And secondly, Chair, a piece of work is about to commence on green skills, which of course will cut across other priorities of the board, in particular the climate change agenda that Councillor Tagg's just fed back on. Thank you, Chairman.
The power of partnerships in this area can't be understated, and Councillor Lees, I-54 is a great demonstrator of success with powerful partnerships at work with your authority, the City of Wolverhampton and also Staffordshire County Council. You might want to say a few words about I-54 and the success that that's delivered for your district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I-54 has been phenomenal success for the whole of our district. When it was first thought of, maybe 10 years ago, it took a lot of development and a lot of effort to bring everyone there, but we highlighted with Jaguar Land Rovers being the main one. We're now starting on the extension to I-54, which is more or less finished, again, working all together. And we've got some high-powered tenants due to move on to this site that will bring a lot more jobs, even thousands, into the area. Thank you.
And my recollection is that, and I think it's still the case, that this is the only county council that's actually constructed a motorway bridge. 28 million quid to put that motorway bridge in. We've got the money back because of the investment and the return we get from that. So it just demonstrates that we can do stuff together that we couldn't do singly. And that was the beauty of the I-54 project. But just moving across to Stafford Western Access Route, Councillor Farrington, again, a good example of partnership. There have been some difficulties, undeniably the case, but we've managed to work through some of those.
Thank you, Councillor White. Yes, as you know, that scheme had been in the offing for a number of years. I think one of the important points to make about that is that we've worked with local developers, so it hasn't just been a case of planning and income capital being put in by local authorities, but also working together with local developers, local businesses to achieve a £60 million plus development. That's opened up the western side of Stafford. It's enabled more businesses and housing growth to take place, but also it has freed up some of the congestion in and around the town centre, and I welcome that development. As you know, Stafford's also been very successful in the Future High Streets Fund bid, and so that, together with further proposals around Stafford Gateway as part of the Stafford Western Access Route, has even more promising times ahead for Stafford Borough residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Farrington. And on a personal note, can I thank you and the Borough for the hospitality you laid on a week last Sunday for the Staffordshire Ironman. I took part in that, and the reception that you get as you come, and also to Councillor Lyons, because you opened up Cannock Chase is a place of misery for cyclists on the Ironman. Believe you me, where do all the hills come from? But Councillor Farrington, a tremendous response from the citizens of your borough. The support lifted me as I was slogging my way around your borough's hills and the castle. But thank you very much indeed for that.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just come back very quickly on that. As you know, the pandemic had an effect on the event, but very pleasing that it's been enabled again this year. I think one of the important things to say is that it brings people from all over the world. It's not just a competitor-led or event that deals with people from this country. They come from all over the world, and it's becoming internationally recognised. Underneath that, of course, is the influx of people and the huge injection to the local economy, both here and, of course, in Cannock and surrounding areas. And it's certainly putting my borough on the map. And thank you for your support in working with my authority in partnership. Thank you.
Councillor Lyons, if you go to the bank out up to the Chase, you'll see on the side of the road a few of my tears as I was climbing up the hill. But I just want to go back to Mr Hayward for any concluding comments about the economic development thing before I hand over to Councillor Allen for any comments he might have.
No, nothing further from me, Chairman.
Councillor Allen, any observations?
No, thank you, Chair.
We move on then to our other priority, which is around the single front door. And Councillor Pullen, I know that your Chief Executive, Mr Fletcher, is doing an awful lot in this area, and if he were here, he'd be speaking to it in your stead. But because he's not been able to make this morning's meeting, is there a few words you'd like to say about a single front door?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Firstly, I should just point out that Lichfield District also hosts some of the Ironman in Staffordshire. Not that it's a competition. So we know navigating between district and county councils is difficult, and frankly, I think that's as true for some of our councillors as much as it is our residents. So I'm really pleased that as a board we're choosing to invest in our technology and our processes, focusing on making it easier for people to find information and to report issues without having to worry whether they're contacting the right tier of local government. I think this is a real huge opportunity for us to improve the lives of our residents here, and we shouldn't lose focus of what this is about, but offering increasingly easy ways of interacting with their local government through a single digital front door, which hopefully will also free up capacity for our organisations to provide a far more bespoke service offering to those of our residents who really need it. So far in terms of the work that's been done, plenty of progress made, plenty of data collected, 5 subgroups set up to focus attention on specifically on where some quick wins might be identified. Those subgroups sit across our websites, our phone numbers, our e-forms, of which if you've looked at the data in the back, there's literally thousands of e-forms across our organisations which are currently being filled out, current failure demand, and then data integration and information governance. Those 5 subgroups are all in flight at the moment. A paper will be coming back to October's Leaders Board with some specific actions for us to approve and go from there. Personally, really excited that we've got this up and running. I think it will genuinely make a real improvement to not only our organisations, but as I said earlier on, the lives of our residents who we serve. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pullen. And this is a real sort of fallout from the pandemic and how we worked together absolutely brilliantly to support businesses and individuals across the county. And nobody really knew where the support was coming from. We just made it happen, and that was tremendous. But Councillor Roberts identified that we do need to make sure that everybody can get access to this, and that those people who can't necessarily access this, we make sure that they are catered for. Councillor Roberts, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Thank you, Chair. No, just basically communication. I think we've got to concentrate on getting it out to the members of the public, plus other district councils and councillors, so that we know that we're all going down the same route rather than diversifying to different routes. I think forms and things that should be consistent, so that you've got one form for certain things rather than having different forms in different districts, because that adds confusion. If it's one basic like you say e-form that somebody can go to, it'll make it a lot easier. Thank you.
Mr Henderson, we are mindful of the fact that not everybody can access the digital offer. Is there anything we can do to help out there?
Thanks very much, Chair. Staffordshire has got 43 libraries. We've never closed any of our libraries for over the past decade. But one of the parts of it is that 27 of them are community run, and 16 of them are sort of professionally run by librarians. But the one theme that goes throughout that is that we run a system we call Digital Buddies. And so anyone wishing to do a blue badge or some form of other who is unable to access the internet can just go to the library, and one of the staff will help them through that application. And we're in contact with Mr Fletcher, who's leading on this project from Lichfield District Council, to sort of very much bring the libraries into this fold. Obviously, we would like people to make best use of modern and adaptable digital solutions, but obviously, equally, we want to have solutions for those who cannot access digital technology.
I think collectively we recognise there's a lot of learning to do around this before we get to the implementation phase. The enthusiasm with which Lichfield District Council is driving forward on this agenda is brilliant. We do need to make sure that we don't miss things out, and so I would appeal to all leaders and chief executives. Let's get further information. Let's share what Lichfield District Council is doing on this agenda, and make sure we haven't missed anything as part of this, because we want the offer to be right when it's in place. We want it to be able to evolve. We also want to acknowledge that some people will never be digitally enabled, and that we need to reflect on that and how we deliver services to them. Councillor Allen, was there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Chair. So we've just established the Leaders Board, and I think some people may wonder what's going to come of it, and this is a good example of how districts and the county can work together. Good demonstration. It's about the single front doors, about making it easier for residents when they've got a concern or problem or an issue, or they just want to find out information. I hope it will make it easier for them to find their answers. I know that many people don't differentiate between East Staffordshire Borough Council or Staffordshire County Council. I'm sure it's the same in other parts of the county as well. So we are just simply the council. It makes sense then to move in step with each other and make sure that the answers and the responses that people are receiving as they have their concerns or queries are answered are really good and gives them as much information as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Pullen, would you like to sum up?
I'd just like to thank Mr Fletcher and the officers for the work they've done on this so far. I think if we can all get behind it, as Councillor or as the Chairman has said, anything that could go wrong, let's highlight that as early as we possibly can. There will be a vast variety of permutations of what could potentially go wrong across our districts and boroughs. So let's please float those to the top and make sure we design those out as early as we possibly can.
Councillor Farrington.
Thank you, Chair. I do think it's important to note, although we've touched upon this and we're all as one in relation to a single front door, we have also recognised that there are members of the public who will be unable to access some of the features that we're proposing. And it really is just important to give that reassurance to those people that we will not forget them and that, as you've quite rightly commented, this is a forum through which all of the feedback that we can get from around the county, from nearly 1 million people, will be taken on board. And we're here to serve everybody, not just to propose solutions that don't help everybody. And I think that's a really important thing to say.
Thank you for making that point. The other three priorities, addressing health inequalities across Staffordshire, a joint approach to waste and sustainability, and a devolution deal for the area that is Staffordshire, is not something we want to talk to necessarily in any detail this morning. I just wanted to highlight the work that's being done on those top three priorities, but I'll just open it up, and just in case there is anybody who wants to say anything about those other three. I highlighted in my opening talk about the work that's been done, for example, in Moorlands, around the pilot area for Better Health Staffordshire, and the District Council aligning the redevelopment of its leisure centres with tackling obesity, and that's a great example. In Lichfield District, there's conversations being had on the health front about providing extra care and dementia care in the Fradley area. I know across the county there are conversations and ambitions around that. That connects housing with health and care, and the districts and boroughs have their role with planning. We have our role with the provision of care. Actually, the two are very, very similar, really, and we need to make sure that we dovetail those two together. I think on the health and care thing, I don't know what my colleagues around the table experience, but the one thing that most people are very, very unhappy about at the moment is they can't get to see their GP. And so I think it's incumbent upon me as a member of the Integrated Care Board to flag concerns that we all have around this table about accessibility to health services and the timeliness of the delivery of those health services as well, because we are not only a board that's going to be getting stuff done, as we've illustrated in the first three items, we're also a board that's got a very powerful voice on behalf of the 880,000 people that we represent, and we should use that in some aspects of our work, particularly around tackling health and the inequalities of health across the county. As it stands today, a man in Staffordshire can expect to live 64 healthy years before something starts to go wrong. We'd like it to be much longer than that, because being ill and having a long-term condition is a deeply unpleasant thing for an individual to have to endure. But by providing parks and open spaces, by providing leisure centres, by providing good primary health care and good care services, we can start to address those sort of things, and we can do that collectively. So I did want to say just a few things about addressing health inequalities across the county. As far as a joint approach to waste and sustainability is concerned, we do have the Joint Waste Management Board for Staffordshire. It has been in existence for a very long time. I think most people around this table have probably at some point been chairman of the chair of the Joint Waste Management Board for Staffordshire. I know I did it for 4 years, from 2003 to 2007, but that's because I've been a very naughty boy. So we do need to make progress on the joint management of waste. Government is introducing new legislation which is going to affect us all. We've already experienced the first round of that with the waste streams that are collected, but food waste will become an issue that is rising up the agenda pretty fast. And Councillor Tagg, I don't know if you've got any insights into the food waste issue that you'd want to share, but it is going to be it is an important one that we're going to have to tackle at some point. Councillor Tagg.
Yes, Chair, it's coming down the line fast, and from Newcastle's point of view, we brought in a separate food waste collection on a weekly basis in 2009, because we took a commitment back then that we felt we needed to still take away, the food waste, the stuff that can smell weekly. So we've been ahead of the game on that. I've been running the service for many years, so I think again, working together as county and districts, we are in a good position because Newcastle's been, doing this for years, and a service based upon what we've been doing, I think would be something we could roll out across the county, and officers are working on that jointly to achieve that. If we just say something about the health bit, which you talked about, I completely agree with you, Chair, about the working together between county and districts, particularly in the planning area. I think what we need to do, I think it's agreed by everybody, is we need to keep people out of sort of the acute care sector and also hospitals, and that's making them stay out into either their own homes or being able to move to an appropriate home. And I think there's an opportunity probably in this district for planners to work together with the county to use our land more efficiently to bring in homes and better accommodation, whether that's apartments or whether that's bungalows, for people that have reached the stage where they want to downsize, or they're living on their own now because they've lost their partner and they don't want to climb the stairs, they don't have to do the garden, they don't want to have to pay all the repair costs of a large home. And I think there is, as it says here, that's everybody's business, and that's borough officers, county officers, as well as members from each authorities. Thank you.
Yes, and you highlighted something earlier in a meeting that we were having about you've got people who are perhaps living alone in very large houses, who perhaps would like to downsize to an appropriate accommodation if they have had the opportunity to do so. But we do need to be, through the planning system, enabling that opportunity to present itself. And working out how we fund those things collectively is going to be a great endeavour. So, and then moving on to the final one, which is the devolution and a county deal. I've talked about that during my preamble. I don't know if anybody wanted to add to any of those three things I've just skipped over before I draw it to a close. Councillor Allen, is there anything you'd like to say by way of conclusion?
No, thank you, Chair. Happy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully we've set out clearly the priorities for this Leaders Board for the forthcoming year. A lot to be getting on with. We've already made great progress with the three items that we've picked up on, and we look forward to presenting to members of the public the progress we're making at each of the meetings. The recommendations are that we agree the priorities for 2022-2023 set out in paragraph 4, and the approach for the year set out throughout this paper. All those in favour? For the record, that's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 6 is the exclusion of the public. There are no items for discussion in private session. I'd like to say that it would be extraordinarily unusual for anybody to be wanting to bring something that couldn't be exposed to public scrutiny. So I wouldn't expect us very often, or if at all, to have any items where members of the public would be excluded. And in addition to that, I think that it's useful for us to be make ourselves available to scrutiny through our scrutiny committees, because this involves the spending of public money, and the cooperation that we have agreed to today is something that I think we need to be able to stand scrutiny about. That concludes the inaugural meeting of the Staffordshire Leaders Board. So with that, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.